What's poppin', everybody? Hello and welcome to Popcorn Culture. My name is Ben Carlin and I am your host. Here with me today is my brother Jay, who will be in every episode.
I will be here, man, but let me tell you, today it is a sleepy day, I feel like, here in the office.
I think it is.
You know?
Yes, today is a day where you and I are both inflicted with the reality of having children.
Yeah, I keep looking up and wanting to be like, you all right, man? I'm like, oh no, he's just tired. Yeah, that's what's happening. I already asked him that an hour ago, and that was the answer. So it's just still the case.
Yes. I think everybody in the office has asked me, "You okay, man?"
Yeah, fine.
I'm good. I just got up at 4 and I think I had to go back to sleep. I worked out and now I'm tired. Mm-hmm. So hopefully today you're willing to just carry all the weight.
Well, I'll see what I can do. I don't know what has been going on with young Nicholas at my house, but he has suddenly decided that right around 10 o'clock every night, he just wants to be awake for 2 hours.
Oh,
and
jeez.
it's just you go in there, I'll hold him for I will hold him for what I'll be like, okay. 5 minutes is typically what it takes to calm him down. Just okay, all right, lull you back to sleep, lay you back down, you're good. I've been I'm just gonna triple it. I'm just gonna really let you fully get back to sleep. Just get into a REM cycle so you can't even maybe wake up. Last night I went for 20 minutes. I was like, I am not messing around here, Nick. When I put you down, we're going to sleep. And I put him down, and I heard him start screaming, and I was like, no.
Oh, no.
I was like, I'm just going to give him 5 minutes to try and calm down. And thank goodness he did. But there was part of it was I guess I'm just not sleeping tonight. I guess I'll just go ahead and get up and make some coffee or,
Sure, just bail on that plan.
Just never mind.
I'm punting.
Sleep was a good idea, but what was I thinking?
Yeah. This is one of those things that I feel like I'm very, very, very quickly understanding, just how much my former self was able to do because I was able to sleep more.
Yes.
Yes. Because this is something I remember. Once upon a time, we had a professional relationship with someone who was doing some work with us, and I remember I think there was sort of this breakup phase that we went through with this particular person, and what they said maybe was something along the lines of I don't have enough bandwidth to work you guys into my equation. Do you remember that? He used the word bandwidth.
The word bandwidth.
And
yeah.
I remember at the time I was just infuriated by this bandwidth. It was I would sarcastically be bandwidth. I don't have enough bandwidth to do that.
Yeah.
And now it's today, I'm driving to the office and I'm I don't have enough bandwidth today. it's he was.
I get it.
He was totally on to something.
Mm-hmm.
He must have been much, much, much busier than I was at that period of time, and I had enough space in my schedule that I was able to just constantly be working on all the extraneous projects in my life.
Right.
But yeah, no, Alice has. We're going through the stage of Addie's life where she's coming up on 4 months old. And at this point, there is this rather infamous sleep regression that babies have. Thing. Yeah. And it's something you probably, if you don't have kids, you probably never would have heard about it. But I have several new parents who are all around me who have recently either are going through it, have gone through it, whatever the case may be. So there's been a lot of warnings, and I think especially Alice, I think was really we're going to be prepared. So there's this online class where it's one of these names where I'm man, sometimes I just wish that my name was so something perfect. But the woman's name is Kara, and she has a baby class called Taking Care of Babies.
Oh man, that's so good.
It's so good. And I'm always wow, that is just so perfect.
Top dollar. This is completely only sort of on topic.
Okay.
There is a character in the most recent run of Pokemon games named Careless. So careless, basically.
Yeah.
And this looks like this very dopey research professor. And what you do is you have to bring her fossils, and then she'll put them together for you, and then it produces clearly the wrong Pokemon. The joke in this generation was that you could mix and match any of the 4 fossils to make a different Pokemon.
Okay.
But Careless is obviously carelessly mixing them inappropriately, so she's just churning out these abominations.
Are they Pokemon that don't exist?
They're Pokemon that she's it looks like you had a Pokemon and you sliced it in half and just literally jammed it into another one, and now that's the Pokemon, and those are the ones that you can use.
You can use them?
Yeah, you use them, yeah. But you can sort of like see where like, well, maybe if you took that one's head and it actually is supposed to go with that one's butt, and
okay,
it's very weird looking. And I kind of wish they'd just given us the actual Pokemon rather than these weird creatures we got instead.
Yeah,
but
yeah. It does feel like Pokemon, as like its concept already is sort of taking animals as you know them and like reinventing them.
Yeah.
I don't know if what you needed to do was take that and then like cut it in half and multiply it by 2.
Yeah, but that's what they did. So that's a real character in the game now. Careless. Anyway, carry on. How is your taking care of babies class going?
Well, it was this thing where like Alice, I feel like she had talked to me about it several times. We have another like friends of ours who just used the exact same program, and so they were like telling Alice about it and stuff. And this is like one of those things where Alice and I are different in that like she loved school because she just like loved going to class and like learning, and I did not. And it was I mean not like that I didn't go or anything, but like to me my entire experience with like the educational system was like was as if it was like check boxes. It was like I knew that I needed to do them, and I knew that I needed to do okay at them.
Right.
But really, really, what I wanted to do was to never have to do it ever again.
Right. Like if it wasn't mandatory, I probably just wouldn't.
Right. That being said, I do feel like if I ever go back and like get my master's or something, it would be because I'd be like extremely fascinated in the topic, and then it would be fun because it's not like going and taking like gen eds and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, well now as like a 34-year-old, I 1000% understand that rogue mid-30s person in a variety of my classes at college that was like raising their hand and asking tons of questions and being very engaging with the professor, and it was just like, okay, lady, like, what are you even doing here? You know?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You're like,
true.
oh no, I get it. You care.
Right.
Right.
Yep. I do think that there is probably, I always remember those students as well. And they always sat in the front of the class, and it was always like they had enough life experience to know that whilst in these classrooms, they were getting like a just absolutely marvelous opportunity to just be able to absorb information,
right,
ask questions, and you have like a professional person who's incredibly smart in front of you who is able to field those very things.
Right.
But as I would, even as a college student, I would say, especially those early level classes, that was not the case. It was like, I was attempting to, I don't even know that it was a goal in my mind to store the information. Like a lot of me almost thinks that it was like, I will know this as long as I need to and not a second longer.
Right. The reason I need to know this is so that I can pass the test, not so that I can apply this information.
I would go so far as to say, this actually is an interesting reflection on studying, is that I think that I was even at times weary of digesting information so much that I would get to use up some of my valuable brain space for something I didn't want to hold on to. So I was like purposefully almost like leaving like very thin strands connecting that information inside of my brain space.
Man, your brain has like a very like sense of scarcity about
it does
data storage.
It does. It's like you do not. If we don't need it, it is not staying. Right. Like, yeah, we run a very messy brain desk up there. But whilst messy, it's also minimalist.
Right.
That's why it's just a desk. Like,
right.
You do not make any assumption that there's a filing cabinet next to it that like you could put stuff in. Like, we're not cluttering up this room. We've got the lamp and the trash can where all the things go.
What else do you need?
I don't know, but that's what it looks like up there.
Okay.
Maybe at some point in time I should try to like revamp my brain desk and see if it changes my outlook on my entire life.
Yeah, you need to like go all quoth and like split into 2 spots and have like one half of your brain be like, now brain, listen to self. We got more room up here, okay? There's like tons of room. Like you've put together an impressive resume on this desk. But the fact of the matter is we've got like more rooms in this building than just this desk. There's like, in fact, it's not even that we have the rest of the floor or just the rest of the building. We've got like the rest of the entire city and then like 50 miles outside the city and
You think there's that much space up there?
Absolutely. Yes. No, Ben. Do not sell yourself short. You've got that much space.
Can I tell you that?
You are your like own worst. I will have conversations sometime with you, and I'm like, Ben, you are so much more than what you are letting yourself believe you are.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, I will go. I mean, the other thing too is that like the desk, it's dimly lit.
Yeah,
like it's not even bright up there.
Right. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Brain. This lamp. You got a lot of work out of this lamp. I'm not gonna lie. There is a sun outdoors. Okay.
Just leave the room, man.
Come on, man. Let's get some fresh air. What do you say, Brain?
Okay. Well, what we need to work on then is how to exit the room.
How do you get out of that room?
I've never created a door or even the other half of the room itself. It's literally just two walls that come together.
You gotta smash through the walls, man.
The desk is like pushed up against there. Overflowing with papers, though.
Well, yeah.
At the very least. I mean, I've used the real estate. Anyway, the point is, though, is that coming up on this 4-month sleep regression, it's something that I think that Alice is trying really, 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 really hard to be prepared for, which is extremely good because in practice, it has ultimately been a very good thing. But there was a couple of weeks where she was like, I downloaded like the PDF book from Taking Care of Babies on how to prepare for like sleep training and the 4-month regression and everything. And she's like, it's just like 50 pages, like just print it off. And like, it's gonna be a super easy read. We'll just like buzz through it. And I was like, 50 pages? Like, do you know how small this desk is? Like, literally, I mean, I can't even tell you how badly I didn't want to read this 50 pages.
Yeah.
And it was like my mind was desperately grasping at what I am fully able to acknowledge as straws. But I was like my mind kept being like, you know what we should really do is rely on our own instincts.
Yeah.
In this particular case, whatever feels right, that's probably it.
Yeah. This is always this is also the dynamic at my house. It was just like the father approach is like, well, just, yeah, we got it. We'll know what to do because biologically we must know what to do.
People have done this
forever. And yeah, we got it. We'll just figure it out. We'll just know in the moment.
Decades, if not centuries.
Yeah.
If not millennium. If not, what's millennium times 10? Even more.
Megalenium.
Ooh.
Making stuff up.
I think it's a really good word.
Cool.
Anyway, so here's the thing, though. So I really was hesitant to learn, but then I did learn, and I have like been implementing the process. So like one of the really, really big things is that like in the middle of the night, if you start to hear them cry, there's like a set of procedures. I think it's called step back.
Yeah.
And it's like those procedures are like I think the S stands for like sound, and it's like increase like their noise machine volume a little bit, and then like each like letter is an acronym for like what the next
thing to do is.
Yeah. And this is where I've felt like the extreme irony is that it's like, all right, I learned, and now I'm going to do it. And then I think on the flip end of things, it is, to be fair to Alice, it is incredibly difficult in the middle of the night when you are exhausted to sit there and have the patience, because a lot of the step back method is largely the baby is crying and you are awake and you are going to now spend the next 15 minutes intentionally basically doing nothing.
It is hard.
And so what that means is like at the very least, active, like if you're going to get up and like go like walk around with them or like go get them like a bottle or something like that, like then you're doing something. You have something to do. But if you're just sitting in your bed, like listening to the noise and I don't know, whatever. So
it's like purposefully engaging in torture is what it is.
Yes, yes. But so we did move Addie to her crib, which has felt like a really big, it's been a big milestone that I thought it was going to be a lot more emotional about and has largely just been great. But we have a camera that, does like the surveillance, whatever. That's probably not the right word. Monitor.
There you go.
Yes. That's the right one. But it's very smart. Like the monitor does like a bunch of things and it gives you a bunch of data and information. And so it's very helpful. But so this morning, what we discovered is that it will give you a nightly recap as to like what happened? Like, what were the motions? Or like, if you were to say like, oh, okay, like at 1:43, she woke up for like 3 minutes, but then she went back to sleep. And like the camera is picking up on that because
Right.
it, like if she moves, then it registers the motion and it's able to then digest that information. And so I was really proud of myself because we were watching it back this morning, and it like Alice went in, she did like her feeding or whatever in the middle of the night with like, I mean, I don't even know if she was intending to do the step back method here, but either way, it got to my stage at like 4 a.m. and I was like, look, here, you see it right here? I'm just sitting in the chair. I'm not doing anything. I'm just present. And then hand right there. I was able to give her some comfort.
Yep.
And it's like, I was like, there is documented 30 minutes of me doing the textbook taking care of babies step back method.
Nice.
I was really proud of myself. And that's
Nicely
really,
done.
this entire story, which is maybe 15 minutes long, is that I was proud of myself, and I'm now tired.
I was still awake for half an hour in the middle of the night is what happened.
Yeah, well, and it was, this is the worst of it too, is that we get up early for the gym. And so today was a gym day on top of everything else. So it was like I was up for a half hour, and then that made it so that like there's a very slim piece of time where you could potentially go back to sleep.
Oh yeah,
And
this
it's
is the
like,
problem,
it
right?
is- it is the problem.
Yeah, my alarm's at like 6:30 usually to like make it to the gym, and so yeah, if for some reason I wake up at like 6 or something, it's just like, well, that's pretty much it.
I'm just done now.
there's no chance. There's no me going back to sleep for any more amount of time. And it's like, how far back does I go? Like 5:30? It's still pretty slim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to get better at it though. So I've been adopting a Jonathan Carlin technique to life.
Oh whoa,
I know, it's been pretty great.
what is this?
I've been watching some shows
Wow,
on my own.
Look at you.
I know.
Look at you, so
But-
independent.
It's felt good. It's felt good. I will. Although I guess not entirely independent because Addie is usually sitting on my lap. But
Well, yeah, no.
but yeah, no. It's like honestly, it feels like a breakthrough for me because it's like you're just doing something for you
You're just enjoying it yourself.
on your own. So
Yeah.
I've been watching Star Wars' Bad Batch,
Yeah.
which I feel like every single time I start, I'm always like, this doesn't feel like it's that well made, and then by the end of the episode, I'm just like absorbed.
Yeah.
So it's like each time I'm like a little taken aback by like the animation quality and stuff, but then I get back into it.
You're right into it.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's all I've got on that.
Oh, okay. That's all your sleep deprivation.
That's all.
stories.
All my sleep deprivation. So now I think we can move on to a topic from the folks over on the Discord.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the pop topics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
You ready? Okay.
I'm ready.
Let's see here. Vaiva says, "What is an obscure superpower you would want to have?"
Oh, do you mean besides the element of surprise?
I mean, yeah,
I mean,
yes,
obviously that's we've already established it's the best obscure superpower.
because I mean, like if you have the element of surprise on your hand, how is that ever not the most useful thing that you could possibly have?
Yeah.
It's like they're surprised, and if they're surprised, it means that their plan is being foiled,
Exactly. That's it. You don't know how it's going to work.
unless they think their plan is going to fail, and then your element of surprise is somehow helping them.
Then you're surprised. Oh no!
Oh no! I thought this was going to work.
I suppose this is. I suppose this is probably along the same vein of the element of surprise. This is how I'm going to see if I can remember how it was phrased. It is precognitive subconscious probability manipulation,
What on earth did you just say?
which is basically just being lucky. So it's subconscious precognitive probability manipulation. So you are unaware that you are doing it, but it is happening like you're able to sort of like predict what's going to happen, like unaware to you, and affect things in such a way that they work out in your favor.
Man, I cannot imagine a more stressful imposter syndrome based piece of superpower that you could possibly have than literally being lucky, because I think at all times I would be living in a constant state of like, what if I've only been lucky till now?
Oh.
You know, like all those other times where I just like happened to jump out of the way, or I like took the leap and there happened to be like a fruit stand beneath me that I could like land on, you know? it's like, what happens if like that time happens where you're just unlucky?
Well, see, the thing about how that power would work though is that your luck would not run out because it is like a self-sustaining power, right? Like it would be unlucky to run out of luck, so it can't happen.
Well, that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
But I still don't know that would save my anxiety from completely like latching onto that and being like, oh man, this is not good.
I don't think I would like start suddenly doing risky things.
Sure.
I think I would just continue to try and live a pretty regular life and have just things, work out.
Well, okay. So here's a bit of that is I feel like there is like I would have this with like throwing a party at my house or giving like a presentation in front of like a group of bigwigs or something like that, where I know that historically these things have always gone well, but I am never able to think of them as like reliable skills. It's almost like going into a big meeting, for example, it's almost like I will be nervous for the 3 days leading up to that meeting. I probably won't sleep much the night before. I'll pretty much be obsessed with just like everything to do, focusing in on how I'm going to do well during this particular thing and like be prepared for anything. And so it's like someone might see me do this over and over and over and over and over again and be like, oh man, like he is good in front of a room, like he can carry himself. And it's like, no. But what you don't understand is like, I need those 3 days of like paralyzing anxiety before I can do it. Like, it's not like you can just go and put me in a room and I can then like rely on that. Or similarly, like with like throwing a party, this is something that I very much like to do.
Yeah.
But it's not. I don't have like tactics that I'm like implementing at each party where it's like, okay, I know that there are 7 different categories to the good party throwing experience. 1, you have to have this. 2, you have to have this. 3, 4, 5, exactly. And it's like, okay, how am I feeling this element? How am I feeling this element? What is the interactive activity? What type of specialty cocktail am I going to have? It's like every single time I throw one of these parties, it's almost like I will start with the most basic version of it, which is like, okay, we have a baby shower or something coming. And so it's like, I know that there will be things associated with baby showers. And it's almost like it takes me literally weeks of doing nothing but like shower thoughts and such,
right,
to like slowly land on this idea or that idea. And then I'll have to do research on how to like implement it. And it takes a ton of time and energy and thinking. But same thing. It's like, it's not a skill in the same way that like luck isn't a skill. It's like something that happens.
Yeah.
Do you follow my train of thinking?
So you think this doesn't qualify as a power? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think that it could be a power. I mean, like if it ends up being the case that it is always happening and it is like repeatable.
Yeah.
But the thing about luck is you don't know how it will be repeatable. Like if you're the Flash and can dodge a bullet, then you can dodge a bullet because you know that you can run so quickly that you can effectively pause time in order to move out of the way.
Right.
That's a skill.
Yeah.
But if you're being, if you're in a high speed chase or whatever, it's almost like the luck would be that you turn the car or whatever, and it ends up being the case that like it just goes flying past you, and it's like, wow, that was close.
Yeah.
That was lucky.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. I think you may have picked the absolute worst one for me. I can't imagine luck. It's making me upset just to think about it.
What would your obscure power be then?
Hang on. Let me think of what a really good obscure power could be. It's funny because I feel like in all superhero movies, it always ends up being the case that whatever their superpower is extremely applicable to their circumstances.
I know, right?
It's like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
And the villain almost always is like kind of the same, but just like
the
that.
same power, but a little bit like stronger or slower or not as smart or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You thinking about Obadiah Stane as well?
Absolutely. I mean, basically every Marvel movie is this way.
It is true. Every Marvel movie is just literally the same things fighting each other.
Yep.
Okay. What would be a good obscure superpower that isn't lucky because that's terrifying? Or the element of surprise, which honestly, I feel like the element of surprise and luck are kind of the same
They're
thing.
fairly similar.
Because the element of surprise also means that like
You don't know how it's going to go down.
you don't know what the element of surprise is going to be, just
Yeah.
that it will happen.
Right.
But I almost wonder if, let's just say you're like an ordinary human being and you live in a world where there are supers and you just put an enormous amount of emphasis on figuring out how to have the element of surprise, which I'm imagining involves like a certain amount of close-up magic. You know, but like if you're incredibly prepared for it and you know how to apply it to the circumstances, then it's like all of a sudden, is it like highly useful? It's like all you're ever trying to do is throw the person off of their expectations
Yeah.
of the situation.
Yeah. Just be disruptive.
Be disruptive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you have like just like a whole trunk full of those like wacky waving inflatable balloon arm men, and it's like you're in the middle of a high speed chase, you start letting those things go, and it's just like whoosh,
Whoosh. What is
Whoosh.
What is happening?
It's like I of all the landmines, maybe a spike strip, a bazooka. I did not expect
Yeah.
wacky waving. I'm kind of delighted now. I'm laughing a little bit at the situation, but now I'm not focused on driving.
You know, basically, Aquafina in Shang-Chi is using the element of surprise. That's like her superpower, right? She's just like, I would just start singing Hotel California right in their face. They'd be like, what's happening?
You're right.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. She's implementing this exact
Yeah.
thing. Although she may also have luck on her side.
She might be. That could be.
Because I don't know if you've heard me complain about this particular
Yeah,
thing or
yeah,
not.
I've heard.
Do you know I'm running?
I don't- go ahead.
It's the archery.
Yeah, it's
that,
the
that really
archery.
makes me upset. In case you haven't seen Shang-Chi, I mean, this is mild spoilers, but the that's pretty significant spoilers. But there's there's this character who's like friends with you know the hero, and she doesn't know that he's a hero, nor has spent any of her life being a hero. And she's an incredibly good driver because they're valets,
Yeah.
you know, which is great.
Yeah.
But then later they end up in this magical kingdom where she wants to like try to become a warrior. So that day she takes up archery camp
Yeah.
for a day.
Like a day.
And then-
3 at best.
And then later that same day,
Yeah.
she shoots an arrow into the eye of the dragon, which totally turns the tide in the entire battle. And it's like, but why?
Yeah.
But
Like,
why?
Could we have even just made you like take like 20 attempts or something?
Or just like make an offhand comment about how your parents never supported you when you went to archery camp in 8th grade.
Right.
And it's like that's all it would have taken. Like,
Yeah.
Just a setup.
Just
I mean,
give me-
like a morsel.
Yeah.
Not to complain about Aquafina though, who I think is hilarious and amazing, but it's just, you know, it's just like it's
That's how they wrote the movie, you know, just gotta do what they say.
Yeah.
Shoot
Okay.
the arrow.
Obscure superpower alert. Rubber ducks.
Rubber ducks.
Rubber ducks.
Just what is that? I don't even know what that means.
I can be a rubber
can
duck if
be
necessary.
rubber duck.
I can produce rubber ducks if necessary.
Like out of your hands?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine Iron Man,
Yeah.
like with his pulses.
Yeah.
But instead, just literally rubber ducks. Just
That would be surprising.
right. But the catch is though is I have to have a silo, kind of like how like Peter Parker sometimes has to have like his web shooters.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like he has to like make them unless you're Tobey Maguire, in which
Yeah.
case he has natural.
Yeah.
So I have to have a silo where I keep it full. I have to constantly get like, you know, shipments from overseas,
Right.
shipping containers just full of them, which I then have to fill up in the evenings so that when I'm out fighting crime, I have
How many rubber ducks are you using in an evening?
well, quite a many.
I guess so.
Quite a many.
I guess how many rubber ducks does it take to take down a single person?
Well, I mean, the good news is that there is a layer of the element of surprise. People don't tend to see it coming.
They're like, what is happening?
But at crime scenes everywhere, it's kind of like my calling card too.
Yeah.
Not really on purpose, but I don't have time to clean up.
Yeah.
So people like, you know, the fuzz, as it were.
Yeah.
They show up with their notepads and all the rest and yellow tape, and
Mm-hmm.
they walk up and they're like, Duckman was here.
Duckman. Your person card, I think, is what you meant.
I do
Yeah.
in-person card.
Yeah.
Except in this case, it's a duck.
Yeah, it's a duck card.
It's a duck card. It's
Yeah.
it's a card in the shape of a duck that really is not card-like at all, but you know, for the purposes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a duck. Yeah, it's probably. Can you imagine? Wouldn't that be great if instead of like person cards, you had person ducks. And you were like, yeah, give me a call. You just hand them like a small metal duck with your information on it.
It's like, what?
Like, this is amazing. Of course I'm calling you.
Yeah. Like, I bet the person would like look down at it, look up at you, look down at it, look up at you, and be like, "This is gonna work."
Yeah.
Like, you have sold me.
You've got
with
me.
your custom duck.
How many of these do you have on you right now? And you're like, a lot. Like, my pants are very heavy right now.
Oh man,
I didn't know how many people I was going to meet tonight. I was going to be prepared. I'm optimistic.
this reminds me of a time that I went to a conference. So in the early days of my aquarium career, there is an annual conference that's kind of like the VidCon, but for aquariums.
Sure.
And it's called MACNA.
It's exactly what I would have called fish conference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not FishCon.
Yeah, no, the Marine Aquarium Conference of North America.
Yeah, MACNA.
MACNA. It
MACNA.
rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
FishCon wouldn't be the worst.
Yeah.
CoralCon.
CoralCon.
It's got a little bit of alliteration to it.
Yeah.
But so, okay.
But anyway, you're at MACNA.
I'm at MACNA.
Yeah.
In, where was I? Denver. I was
Is there a Mac and cheese bar there?
Well, there should be.
There should be.
I'm gonna coin that. MACNA cheese bar. I'd go there.
Right?
So this was like my early grassroots movement for marketing purposes. So you would know that
Oh. Someone has a motorcycle.
I've noticed.
Yeah.
I should go get him a duck. You may know that I have an affinity for making custom T-shirts.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
in fact, you can still pre-order your very own popcorn culture Wordle shirtle,
which is available over at supercarlinbrothers.store, the first official ever piece of popcorn culture merchandise.
Yes.
That is available for pre-order for maybe another week and a half.
Yeah.
So head on over and check it out. But anyway, so I was at MACNA, FishCon, and I was really excited because at the time I was sort of getting started into the aquarium career, and one of the kind of like odd things that happened was I got this large account taking care of aquariums at a museum, and it was sort of. We still maintain it to this day, but it was like a huge win, but there was this sort of like unwritten agreement that I felt like was maybe a little bit unorthodox for typical service relationships. Because I am not a nonprofit myself.
Yeah.
But the museum is a nonprofit.
Okay.
And so it's like I'm basically just a contractor, but part of my responsibilities seemed to be being able to generate the revenue to pay for my contract.
Yeah, this was I remember when this was all going down, and it just seemed like the most backwards, like almost it felt like illegal or something. It to some degree, because correct me if I'm wrong, right? Like you were hired, your company was hired to take care of the aquariums at the museum, and then you were somehow also responsible for like raising revenue to pay for them. So it was like you were responsible for raising the revenue to pay for your own services.
Yeah,
like you were like a contracted out, but then also working as an employee of the museum to. Not really.
Not as an employee, but almost
Yeah.
like as a consultant / person who was then assigned the activities that the consultant came up with, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was like, I could come in, and if you know me, you know that I have just probably too many ideas. And so I was able to, present those ideas, but then was also responsible for executing the ideas, which was just a little bit cumbersome because we were still doing Super Carlin Brothers at that time, and I still had to do the actual job that I was contracted to do. Anyway, though, so the idea that I came up with is basically, since we live here in the mountains of southwestern Virginia,
Yep.
was the growing live coral in like the life support room that we had available to us with our great big aquariums, which basically is just ideal circumstances for letting corals grow out. And what you would do is then frag each of those corals into like collectible pieces, sort of like trading cards, like Pokemon cards or something. Like there are corals themselves that have like wacky fun names, like the Skittles chalice or whatever.
They're like the holographics of the coral world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And people know what they are. Many of them have like lineage that can, be tracked, and there's like certificates of authenticity that they do in fact come from this mother colony or whatever the case may be. So it honestly is it's a rather significant part of the industry. So the project was called Mountain Corals, and it was really just fun to me because it was sort of this like, I don't know, upside down idea that they're corals that are coming from mountains, which mountains are not typically heavily associated with, oceans. Mm-hmm. So that's my whole project. And so I'm at MACNA for the first time, and I'm trying to promote my new project to people. And the way that I decided to do this was to literally have me and our good buddy Steven, who we always talk about on the pop, basically carry 2 backpacks laden with t-shirts. And they were just like, we didn't have a booth or anything like that. We were not like authorized advertisers or something. We were just 2 guys walking around with these gray t-shirts with this bright green fish on it. And I literally had a note card that I wrote, "Ask me for a free t-shirt."
Nice.
Like taped to my backpack, like shoulder. And so I was thinking about, because the ducks, like how many ducks do you have on you? So I'm like walking around, and I just spend the entire conference weekend walking up to people and just being like, "Can I give you a free t-shirt?" And they're like, "Yes,
I guess so."
And then I would like hawk my
then
t-shirts.
you'd like pitch them the idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you want any corals, hit us up.
Right. It was a very expensive way to reach ones of people.
Ones of people. No, did you not get like did lots of people not want the shirts, or?
No, they did. And the shirts, I stand by it to this day. I think that they're incredibly cool looking shirts. Yeah. I've always loved the shirts. I still wear them. But it was actually really cool because a lot of people were asking me before they even saw my very clever note card.
Yeah.
Handwritten.
Right.
That said, ask me how to get a free t-shirt. And people were like, "Those are really cool t-shirts. Where did you get them?" And I was like, "Well, I'm so glad you asked."
Because I have a note card right here that says, "You can have one."
I know. So it was really funny and interesting, but it was like marketing on such a very, very, very...
It's very grassroots.
It's very grassroots.
Yeah.
It's very like you're reaching. I think I gave away like, I don't know, 70 t-shirts that weekend or something. But at the very least, each of those 70 people, like each of those touches were like very intimate. That's a really bad way to phrase that. Let me back up. Each of those interactions were long enough that there was like a conversation, a back and forth, that and a really cool t-shirt they walked away from with. And so I actually did get business from doing it. But
well, there you go.
It was. I just remember my shoulders like aching from carrying around
so many shirts
because I stuffed as many as I possibly could in there, and they weren't organized. So people would be like, "Do you have a large?"
Right, so you got to like dig through it and then like repack them back up.
I know. Yeah. Oh man. The things, and I thought I was being so clever too. The things that I have thought in my life that were good ideas that I can look back on and be like, you were still getting there.
Well, you got business out of it, but was it like how, I guess the question is like, how much was it enough to pay for your own services?
No, but it was more than nothing. I mean, like we ended up raising, thousands of dollars, but not quite enough. Cause I mean, it's a full-time job on a daily basis year round. So, I mean, it's a lot to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, but either way, I mean, I was trying as hard as I could,
right,
at the very least.
Well,
but maybe for future endeavors, ducks will work better. Maybe I can carry more
ducks.
Small,
hand those out.
Smaller ducks.
There you go.
Or we could go back to the person cards, and I can just have a pocket full of steel that I carry around with me.
Just a back. Yeah, I thought this would be better. It's not shirts. It's a backpack full of metal. Not bad for the back at all.
Nope. It's all working out. It's all working out. Okay, so that's my story about that.
Excellent.
From Obscure Powers. Next question is going to come from N. McKendry, who says, if you won $100 million in the lottery, how would you spend it?
Oh goodness, how would I spend $100 million? Like this I feel like kind of goes back to that conversation we were having last week about the hedonic treadmill and what was the other one?
I don't know if I know if I can remember how to say it.
Hold on, maybe I can look it up because we wrote down the pronunciation.
We did.
Oh no, where did it go?
Top right.
Top right, boom, there it is. Yeah. Or it's not on this one, or is it? Or is it not? There it is. It's at the bottom. It is the eudaimonic.
The eudaimonic
approach.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So with the obvious difference between these two, being that. Hold on, what's my first one called? The hedonic treadmill. The hedonic treadmill would basically be the idea that your status of happiness is like on a graph. It's just basically like a straight line.
Yeah.
Like, on the whole, you pretty much exist at about the same level of happiness all the time. Now, things happen that cause you to deviate from that, and so you might like be very sad, and then time will go on, and at some point in time, you will largely approximately return to the line at the very least in theory.
Yeah.
Probably on some level depending on like what these layers of instances are in terms of what has happened. I'm sure that there are things that can raise and lower that constant line.
Yeah.
Depending on which way your life is shifting. But some people may believe that winning $100 million in the lottery would be the type of thing that would cause the line to literally lift, and your status quo happiness would
be like permanently higher.
Right. And it's actually just not the case.
Yeah, I don't think we didn't talk about it last week, but one of the examples you'd written down from, I guess, wherever this information came from was citing lottery winners specifically as people who would spike, sure, when they won and things would be cool for a while, but then they pretty much just return to themselves despite the giant additional income.
Right. So my thought here is, if I were to win $100 million, I think that graph would be the number one thing that would come to mind for me, or at the very least, since it's been like a very topical conversation and something I've been having as a thought experiment over the past couple of weeks. So the idea would be, because you can move that line, but that line is never going to be probably raised or lower through acquisition of new things. But it could be raised by finding a greater sense of purpose, maybe. So if you were to look at it through that lens, then it's like, how could you take this money to be able to then, like, because I even think giving it to charity, while good and while it would continue to have a positive impact on the world, my guess is that your enjoyment of giving it to that charity potentially would also still bring you back to your line.
Right, sure.
Like I think that you would feel very good, and it's a very noble thing to do. However, I also don't think going and buying a mansion, 7 yellow Hummers, and a swimming pool at the lake will make you happy forever, nor will probably the ability to give it to whatever. So it sounds like one of the big things that can help you increase or like raise the line up, is finding a sense of purpose that is very actionable, that is very interactive on an ongoing, reliable, sustainable basis. And so this could be the case that like you use it to implement whatever your calling is. Which I would largely say is, I feel like, a piece of conversation that maybe is like underemphasized in terms of how we pursue our careers.
Okay.
So I think I've given the example before that in sixth grade, I sat down in homeroom next to a friend that I was friends with all through high school. And on that day, as an 11-year-old, he knew that he wanted to be a commercial pilot someday.
Right.
And today, he is a commercial pilot.
Right.
That is what he did. He knew what his calling was in such a crystal clear way and pursued it the whole way. We've talked about our good buddy John in the GMA. Same thing. Like he's wanted to be an architect for as long as I've known him, and he's an architect today. But I can say for me, like going to college, educational system and stuff, or even just in high school when people are like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's like, I have no idea.
Right.
Like, did you know?
No, not really. But it's like, I don't know. It's interesting phrasing it like as your calling. Cause like, even when you talk about like John wanting to be an architect, like I always knew like for sure, as long as I've known him, that's always been the case.
Yeah.
But like I've always known he wanted that to be his career. I don't think I've ever thought like, oh yeah, that was like John's calling. He was like, I was born to design buildings.
That's fair.
You know,
that's fair. That's fair. But I think, well, it's without having him here. I don't want to speak.
I don't want to speak for him.
I don't want to speak for John.
Yeah.
But the question is, how much of doing this activity will like fill your cup? So an example I can give actually that's very topical is this past weekend, I spent the entire Saturday day helping Dad basically like completely redo his home aquarium.
Yeah.
So it was really what we needed to do was change the stand. And if you can imagine, it's a 180-gallon aquarium. Water weighs 8 pounds per gallon. So heavy. And pretty much what that means is the only way to change the thing that it sits on is every single thing needs to come out of it. All of the plumbing needs to be completely disconnected. And
you got to get the new stand, which probably is a different size. So the plumbing has to look different underneath.
It does. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
also bear in mind that in order to hold, 8 pounds times 180 gallons of water, the glass in the stand itself has to be pretty hefty. Just to withhold the weight.
Yes.
So, we've moved some fish tanks before.
We have.
To say it's not like a 4 to 5 person job is just wrong.
Yes. Yeah. No, it is like, it's a massive endeavor. Like this is not like coming over and helping, paint a room or fix a squeaky door or something like that. Like it's a big job. But the thing is, and I feel like this is like something that I sometimes feel like disconnected from with myself is throughout this day, I was doing something that I have a lot of knowledge on. I feel very confident about it.
Yeah.
Like I know what I'm doing and I appreciate like the underlying reason. Like I have been fascinated with aquariums since I was 12 years old, and it's doing it professionally for such a long period of time. I do think it kind of like damaged the activity as a hobby for me because it was hard to like come home after a day of doing this type of stuff and then go and work on your own. Not to mention there's not a huge amount of money in aquariums. So most of the time you would be coming home from aquariums that are much, much, much nicer than yours to one that you can't actually even afford to execute the way that the ones that you service on the daily basis are. What I can tell you about this, though, is that it was a very, very, very fulfilling day for me.
Yeah.
Like I worked from 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. that day. So like full day job. We were supposed to go with you guys that night to like an event, like a formal event where we were going to get all dressed up and stuff. And yet it was still like, it was like the work was long. It was laborious. It was, heavy, difficult, at times frustrating. But also just like, it felt like really good to do it.
Yeah.
So like even being tired, it was sort of that tired, like with a sense of accomplishment. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day. So to apply that to this idea of a calling, I think that it's probably like, it doesn't necessarily mean that even that you wouldn't rather like walk away from that activity and go sit on a beach and read a book or something like that. Like that is great. But I think that it's the ability to dive into the work and feel extremely good about what it is you're doing or have a sense of confidence attached to that. And I feel like when we talk about careers or jobs or the 9 to 5, the grind, whatever the case may be, my guess is that people who do those jobs can't relate to those qualms in quite the same way.
Okay.
Like
they don't like have like a immense sense of satisfaction at the end of the day.
Right. Like, yeah. So if you were to take John and instead of having him be an architect, have him go and like maybe sell insurance for the day or something like that, like both days could involve 8 hours of work, but one of them is like, this is what I like to do. Like
Right.
I am good at this. It makes me feel confident. And this was like, I did it because you need to have a job in order to make money, in order to sustain
Right.
lifestyle or whatever the case
Right.
may be. So going back to our $100 million question is, I think the real answer, if you could, would be attempting to use those resources to what I actually believe would make you the happiest is finding the answer to that question if you don't already know the answer to the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. It's always like a question of like, would you do it if you weren't getting paid to do it? You know?
Yeah,
That's
that's-
probably a good like sort of calling kind
feel
of
like-
feeling.
Yeah, I feel like I just talked for like 13 minutes and you like one sentence. That was better.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I think if I had that, I don't know exactly. I'm not sure that like anytime I get presented with this question or a version of this question, which is like, what would you do? What would you get? And it's just like, I don't know if I like covet any one specific item that much that I feel like, oh, if my whole life, my life would be complete if I had this thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
Like, so it's never like a very good, like to me, what that kind of money I feel like would introduce into my life was like, hopefully what I could use it for is a permanent sense of financial security is what I think I would do with it.
Sure.
Like this to me is I'm retired now. Now what do I do? Like, and then, yeah, maybe it's a matter of like, would I keep making YouTube videos? Like, I don't know. Maybe I would. I feel like you said, like, do I ever feel like calling? Like, I don't know. It's like, it's hard to say. I think for a long time, like, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. Like when I went to college, like I was sort of doing like communication and like I was sort of going down the path of like news and reporting and stuff like that.
Yep.
But that was just sort of like this is the sort of been like the maybe I'll do that if I can't think of anything path, because like that's what our dad did.
Sure.
And I was like, it's cameras and stuff have always been interesting. But then I also think like in high school, like I loved all the stuff we did, like cross country and soccer and swimming and like all the sports and stuff. But I think there was a part of me that always like felt like a different side of me was like always sort of being like pushed down, like because it wasn't like cool to be representing that side of myself or whatever. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
you know, like I bet I would have really loved like drama or something. You
Yes. Yep. And you and I have talked about this before, and I've always felt like you had an English teacher your senior year that I feel like unlocked the like maybe it was like the first person who I'm aware of, because I remember noticing a change and sort of like seeing the person who I could almost say like that like I see behind the camera in a Super Carlin Brothers video, like that animated, excitable, child at heart, fun-loving person that comes out. I feel like it's something about the way that this teacher, I think, worked with you or presented things to the class. It was almost like what was happening was, guys, it's the assignment. Like, and it's like, because it was the assignment, it was like
a free pass.
Yeah. It's like,
no, I'm just, yeah.
It's like, well, of course I'm going to act out the scene, you know, like, it's like, I mean, she's making us do it, you know, but like, while we're here, we may as well be extremely good at it, right?
I will say there was like I will give a lot of credit to my senior English teacher, Miss Mills, who was a fantastic teacher. But there were like glimpses of it throughout, specifically like a lot of my English classes throughout the year.
Oh, interesting.
Throughout the years, like even in 9th grade, I think when you do Romeo and Juliet, like the teacher would be like, all right, we're just gonna read through the play, but like you're gonna be these characters and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I remember I don't know who. I think I had like Tybalt or something. Who was like the antagonist or something.
Nice.
Yeah. But I remember like as we were going through, like someone else in the class, like one of the other like guys in the class was like had like the comic relief character, and he was like sort of getting a little bit into it, and it was just sort of like, oh, if you can get a little into it, then maybe I'll reciprocate a little. It was like, so it was like, oh, this is more fun if you're actually doing it that way. Even then, you've always talked about Mr. Sauls, who was the 10th grade English teacher. I remember we had to come back from summer reading. And one of the first assignments we had to do was like present like a book review basically of like one of the books you read.
Yep.
And like I think I read Gulliver's Travels in like the 3 days before the end of summer because summer reading was the worst.
It was.
And I hated it.
Yep.
And I remember specifically really not liking Gulliver's Travels. Maybe I should reread it as an adult. I feel like it's kind of a classic.
Sure.
But anyway, I remember going up there and just having to do the report, and I had just sort of written down like a bunch of just like negative things I didn't like about the book.
Okay.
And I was sort of like up in front of the class, and I like remember I got like 2 or 3 minutes into it, and all of a sudden like I realized people were laughing at what I was saying, and I was just sort of like really leaned into it, and I feel like it was like one of the best oral presentations I ever gave, and it was just sort of like off the cuff by the end.
Interesting.
And I was just like, man, that was, and then I didn't like really go back to that or anything. I didn't ever like participate in class discussions or anything, but I did remember feeling very like empowered in that moment.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, so in a lot of ways, I feel like this sense of calling or whatever, I feel like the door was being cracked open a few times for you, and you were sort of getting like that like nice bright light that comes out of it when it's open.
I think you're right. So yeah. And then even like the way I ended up setting up my classes while I was in college, because like I started doing the John Carlin YouTube channel in 2009, and that was really when like the floodgates just like opened. It was like, this is what I want to do.
Yep.
And so I think that was like at that point in 2009, though, there was maybe like 3 people on YouTube who could say they were making like a career out of it.
Sure.
Like it really wasn't an established thing yet. There weren't, there was like a page of maybe 50 people who had, over 50,000 subscribers,
Right, which at the time would have been
massive.
Huge.
Yeah, people hitting 1 million and 100,000 was crazy, which I mean, it's still a very, very impressive accomplishment. Like, do not sell yourself short or anything.
Oh yeah, no, of course. Yeah, but like,
it's awesome.
Yeah, I guess in a world where like PewDiePie has 100 million or whatever, it's like that wasn't even, the radar wasn't built for that in 2009.
Yeah, there wasn't anyone even close. There weren't even people at 1 million yet,
Yeah.
So, like that was the situation, but it felt like I don't know, it felt like this is going to be a thing, and it's something I want to do, which was at the time when I think back about it, like fairly reckless of me to just sort of like kind of go all in on it. Like this is definitely what I want to try to make happen. But like, because when I think about the way I set up my classes, like I chose classes to help me become better at doing stuff on YouTube.
Right. Versus, so it almost feels like what sort of happened was the technology and the times and like where, I mean, realistically at the time, like even like when Super Carlin Brothers started in 2012, it almost felt like at that point in time, you could have said like, well, we missed the boat. Like,
right. You could have said that.
Right. Like, the real early adopters were here in 2007.
Right.
And so like almost, yeah. So, but that really ultimately was the case, is that like, I feel like in 2009, I don't even think at that point in time, I knew what the subscribe button was.
Right.
Like that is how far removed I was from, I don't even think I knew how to use YouTube as a source of entertainment.
Right.
Like sometimes it almost baffles me, like when I meet adults and I tell them what I do, the number one way that they understand what I'm talking about is because like, they're like, oh my God, it's all my kids watch. And I'm like,
right,
man, I never watched YouTube. I think even at the time I had a couple of friends who like I would go and like stay their night and stay at their house in high school, and they'd be like, yeah, you guys like want to watch a bunch of like viral YouTube videos? And I was like, no, like not even a little bit. I would rather do anything else than watch these YouTube videos.
Yeah. But like, yeah, even that, like a lot of the landscape of YouTube wasn't like people talking to the camera or like trying to make themselves entertaining for their own personality. it was like viral videos,
Yeah.
like, you know, America's Funniest Home Video style, or else like intentional like sketch comedy or something. You know?
Right. Like maybe like SNL, but this is like a troupe that was able to sort of be like, hey, now we have a place to put this stuff.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and Bretts and Beretta and
Bratz and Beretta and like Derek comedy and all those things. Like that was the sort of like the landscape at the time. But so I remember like that ended up being like why I took creative writing, like creative nonfiction, and like professional writing, and like intro to acting and stuff.
Intro to acting was another one.
Yeah.
Where I noticed a big change.
Yeah, that was a very fun class. I would totally recommend everyone should take an acting class. You know, people are like, everyone should work in the restaurant industry. Yes, and everyone should take an acting class, I think. Very fun.
See, and this is, I have talked, and we've had lengthy conversations about this before, but like I have talked to you and some of our other like friends who are uploaders, I think is the word that we coined for it, creators. And I feel like you are much more similar to all of them in that, like when I talk, like they're sitting in front of a camera is like, to them, it's never been a sense of worry. It's never been like the big hurdle. It's never been the challenge. It's like I don't even get nervous in front of the camera. Is it seems like what I have gleaned from largely everyone else I know who has spent time
right, like in the YouTube space.
Right. That was the thing, I think, for me, that was like the polar opposite. Mm-hmm. Like there was nothing for me that was less comfortable than sitting down in front of a camera. Like I would easily rather speak to an auditorium of 300 people than to the little black eye of the camera.
Right.
Like it was like, I mean, it was just something I had to overcome in the biggest way in those early days, which is almost one of those where I'm like somewhat grateful for the fact that the project that we chose to do had such strict guidelines. So we, like the Brotherhood 2.0 challenge was basically 5 uploads a week. You and I would alternate, which translates to 260 videos. Is it
250? I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like a lot, and you almost never even had enough time away from it to make the decision to stop doing it.
Well, yeah, it was like the more you did it, the more you couldn't stop, because like I'm like I didn't do this for 7 months to quit now.
Right. You know? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like we're 70 videos in. I'm not
like no, we're going.
Right. But yeah, so I mean, that's, I don't know. I have thought a lot about that before as it pertains to like this calling of mine, or potentially looking at that like line of happiness that exists on the graph.
Yeah.
Is like there's a part of me that almost feels like this career for you raised the line, because in a lot of ways it does sound like it was that thing. It was like the door that had been cracked open throughout all those years of you know, English classes and high school and acting class and all that. It was like it finally got to like open all the way. And I think that is like, I am very envious of it. But I have often felt like at cons or around, I don't know, air quote colleagues, I suppose, that I am like almost the only person who's ever been in any of those rooms, like somewhat begrudgingly, like it was sort of like everybody else, this was like their mission was to make this happen, and I was like, well, I'm here. I'm doing it. I love the pop though.
No, but see, here's the thing, Ben, is that like I feel like you really were like the secret sauce though, you know?
Why is that?
Because, well, for one, absolutely, you've always been the funniest person I've ever known.
That can't be.
That absolutely. At least growing up, I always knew that about you, was that you were. I'm sorry.
You okay? You're making me misty.
Really tired. I don't know why it's making me emotional. You could always make people laugh.
It's okay, man.
I'm sorry.
Try to do it right now.
What?
Try to make you laugh right now.
All right, I think I always knew that if you were doing the project with me, that it was, bound for success, because people, were just like attracted to your personality and point of view.
Okay, maybe a cry. I think this is something I don't think I could have known. But I mean, that means the world to me.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's there's no two ways about it. Like, I think since like the second this project started, I think from the beginning it's always been one of these things where I have felt worried or bad that I would be like the weight that held us back.
No, I don't think so. Not at all. Because you're right. Like, when you go in those rooms, everyone else in like at conferences and stuff, and they're like really talented and stuff. But like, you're right. They're like trying really, really hard to get to where they are. And like, it's always, we've talked so many times about like what like makes things like what makes things like appear cool or whatever. And it's like what you have that like the other people in the room don't have is that they're putting a ton of effort into it. And for you, at least from my perspective, it was always really effortless.
I can tell you that there is no greater feeling than your older brother thinking you're cool.
I did not think I was going to be crying into this episode.
It's okay. I think crying is massively underrated.
I agree with that.
Which is probably good, because I have a feeling you just made a lot of people cry.
All right.
Should we try to?
We need like a transition.
A transition and exit. A way to leave the room. Because I really feel like I need to give you a hug. So I feel like we need to close it out so that I can do that. Does that seem reasonable enough?
That's fine.
All
Yep.
right. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of The Pop. I can tell you that one of the very coolest things about entering into the career of doing YouTube stuff has been this very show, which I think has been the opportunity for us to return to what would have been, in my mind, like the best case scenario in the year one version of Super Carlin Brothers. Like, I think it's we did this year-long conversation between brothers, but they were separate videos. And what is so cool about The Pop is that it is episode-long conversations between brothers every week. And I think that really it has enabled the conversations that I've always wanted to have, and the ability to have them in the best possible way. So it means the world to us. If you've ever written into the show, I read your emails. Many of the people who have received responses from me, one of the things that I always do say is that it means the world that you tune into this show, that you want to come and be a part of what I feel like is us in a much more authentic way. Not that the other shows that we do aren't, but like, this is us being the people that we are.
Right.
And it's incredibly cool to get to share that with you. And I hope that it has a positive impact. So on that note, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time,
Pop, pop.